Bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Welcome, Fade to Black, Bespoke Radio for the masses. Today's Tuesday, July 25th. 205 days into the new year, just 160 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planets. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Yeah, man. All right. Tonight we have very special guests. We have a two-part series with Ken Kuden and Peter Cameron of Divergent Unity. Tonight is part one. What we do here, what our aim is, what we wanted to evolve into is what we are exposing tonight. We named it the Game Changer Network for a reason. And we are working with, alongside, in step with many, many game changers out there. And Divergent Unity is one. Okay? And that's all we do here is expand. Expand the community, uniting knowledge and changing the world. The Game Changer Network. Okay, just like our introduction and partnership with Modern Masters, tonight it is Divergent Unity, and we are introducing the world to them. It's going to be a fun, sometimes heavy, I think deep, informative, and comprehensive conversation tonight. Be prepared for that. We have a pretty cool interactive presentation tonight. There will be some videos. Some of it's been posted up already. That you can check out if you want. If you have the ability to do it during the show, that's fine, but you can do it absolutely after the show too as well. But very, very cool presentation. So tonight, part one, Ken Kuden. Tomorrow night, Peter Cameron of Divergent Unity will be here. And Thursday night's going to be another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by open lines. Call-in numbers 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. You can follow me on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. We'll be posting up videos. Last night, great interactive show last night with Martin Gray. Extraordinary show. And with the photographer like that and going through on the radio, going through his amazing photography that probably, especially with this audience, probably you have seen these images many, many times, and you just never knew who was the photographer behind it, right? And to be able to do that last night in real time with Twitter is really, really cool, because this is a radio show. Well, we're going to continue that tonight, so just get ready. It's going to be an amazing conversation. So do follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox, and that's where everything will hit and get posted first, okay? Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black questions. Very simple. Now, you can go follow, like, and subscribe everything that has to do with the show over on our website, and just click on the little buttons there and go check everything out. All right? Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Over 690 archive shows. Coming up on show number 700. Wow. 700 is going to hit when? Is that next week? Today is what? I don't even know. Today we're at 694. So, yeah, the week after next, we'll be doing show number 700. Really? Very cool. Okay, so we have over 690 archive shows on our podcast. And you can just click on the banner over at jimmychurchradio.com for the podcast. Apple, Android, all platforms, just $2 a month. All you got to do, you know the drill with podcasts. You go to the iTunes store, you go to Google store, and you search for the software, right? Search Fade to Black. It'll pop up. Download what you need. That's free. Then head back over to our website and go over to Libsyn and sign up. $2 a month. It's very, very fun, cool, easy to do. Or you can become an official Fadernaut over in our membership section on the site. You're going to get the Bunker Cam. Hello to everybody that's watching right now in the Bunker Cam, commercial-free downloadable archives. And you can also get the Game Changer, where you get all of that Fade to Black gear. All right, and don't forget to visit all of our sponsors. That's how this show runs. Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, who was with us last night, New Pharma, Ancient Life Oil, and, of course, Studio Dome speakers. All the banners are over at jimmychurchradio.com. All the promo codes that you need are there. Life Change Tea, the new promo code there is FADER, F-A-D-E-R. FADER, you're going to get yourself free shipping right there. F-A-D-E-R. River Moon Coffee is Fade to Black Blend, F2 Blend, F2B Blend. Of course, it's right there in the banner. Okay, let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Matt LeBlanc is 50. Our dead guy's birthday today is Brad Renfro. 1982 to 2008, died at the age of 25. Brad was an actor that had the world in front of him, and I really enjoyed his acting. Very talented guy. He did 21 feature films in 14 years. And he was Josh in one of my favorites, the movie Ghost World. And he died of a heroin overdose right here in Los Angeles in his apartment in 2008. He led 2 lives. He did. He led 2 lives. One as an actor and one as a criminal. And criminal won. So there you go. But nonetheless, 21 feature films have been left behind for us to check out. Brad Renfro. He's up there today listening to us. Happy birthday, Brad. OTD. On this day in history, 1978, the world's first test tube baby is born. Louise Joy Brown in Manchester, England. Do you remember back in the mid-70s, the talk of test tube babies and, the cover of Time magazine and Science, and here we are, and, of course, cloning, too, as well. Test tube babies. And now there are millions. There are millions of test tube babies. But she was the first, Louise Joy Brown, 1978. Fader fact, in 1932, this is a Fader fact, now just listen to me. In 1932, Thomas Earl was a zookeeper at the Cleveland Brookside Zoo in Ohio, right? And on this day in 1932, he was fired from his job, then mauled to death by a brown bear, while at the same time being shot by police who were shooting at the bear. And that is a Fader fact. That's the day you wish you would have stayed in bed. And I went back and I read the original newspaper article about this. And look, it's tragic, man. Thomas Earl died. Okay, he died. But you read the newspaper article about it, and it reads like the Keystone Cops, like it was funny. It was a real event, and it was tragic. Unbelievable, but it really happened. Thomas Earl, zookeeper, Cleveland, Brookside Zoo. Tonight, very special guest. We have a 2-part series, and tonight it's Ken Knudsen. Tomorrow night, Peter Cameron of Divergent Unity. This is our world and our future that we will be speaking about. It's going to be an amazing conversation. When you get the time, do click on their link for their website. It's right there at jimmychurchradio.com. Click on that and go check out their website and see what they've got going on over there. It's pretty amazing. But we're going to go very deep tonight and tomorrow night, part 1 and part 2. Now, all right, let's have a conversation. Can we talk? Let's talk, because that giant crack that's been racing across Antarctica, Larsen C ice shelf, finally did it. It met its breaking point sometime between July 10th and 12th. Today is the 25th. The result was an iceberg the size of Delaware and weighing 1 trillion metric tons. It has now broken free and is floating. Yep, but that's not the end of the story. In fact, it could be the beginning of a more important, more dangerous story. The iceberg that broke off, it's dubbed A68, was just one piece of a much larger Larsen C ice shelf. Now, scientists want to know how stable is the ice shelf, and that, what's left and what's intact and connected back to the Antarctic continent itself. Recent satellite images suggest that pieces of the remaining ice shelf are already preparing to break off, creating more smaller icebergs that will, start floating around with iceberg A68 and have a nice little iceberg family floating around. Moreover, though, a new crack is formed close to where the old crack left off, and it's headed for the Baden ice rise, which is a critical anchor point for the ice shelf. Scientists aren't certain that the crack will reach the Baden ice rise, but they are keeping a close eye on it nonetheless. And here we are. Here we are. We've been talking about this for a long time, and the media has been avoiding this subject. It's so touchy, right? It's so touchy because the question is, what is causing it? And everybody, and I mean everybody, has an opinion. Okay, and everyone. And I mean everyone thinks they are right. And we need to be careful here. It's such a polarizing subject that I know no matter what I say, no matter what you say or anybody else, there's going to be somebody that's going to stand up and yell and say that you are wrong. They are right. How dare you say this or suggest that, because that's wrong. This is what's going on. It's dangerous. But first off, when I'm looking at this, and I think all of us should sit down and do the exact same thing that I do, which is write stuff down. Write stuff down. What are the possibilities here? What is causing this? Well, okay, first on the top of the list, because it's the easiest thing to do and probably the most obvious, is there is us. We have caused it. There's us, right? Okay. So if we start to look there, it is us scenario causing, global warming, and what we are doing out there right now, polluting the environment, cars, coal, all of these gases, factories, people, garbage dumps. We can go on and on and on, all of the things that are going up into the atmosphere and causing this. Certainly, we have 7.5 billion people on this planet right now. That creates a lot of garbage and a lot of waste every single day. We have billions of people that are being transported in cars and trains and buses and so forth every single day to and from work. Every single day. It's a cyclical thing that goes on. We have all of the electricity and the coal plants around the world and what's going on in different countries that don't have the control or the desire to control certain things, and they're just stuff going into the atmosphere, right? So we have all of that. Now, could it be just that? It's a possibility, and the reason why I'm not all up in arms about this every single day, wearing green and and everything that goes along with that, because I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I don't think anybody does. I really don't. I don't think that we fully understand what is going on. We have so much science today. We have so much technology. We have everything from satellites and ground sensors and air sensors and things that we can just test and analyze, and computers and software. We have the ability to do that. And ice core samples and going back in history and looking at things. Yes. And so I get that. And with all of that science, it seems to me that the proof can go both ways. The facts can go both ways. There are enough scientists out there that when you look at, because you want to blame us, so we can fix it, so we can do something about it, so we can, and I get that, because we don't want things to change here. We don't want to have to leave. We don't want things to heat up. We don't want things to cool down. Right now, we've gotten acclimated. We understand this planet. We know where to live and where not to live, and so forth. We've kind of figured things out. The disaster films and books and science fiction, and then we don't want that alternative scenario. We just don't. We've never been up against that. We've never had a comet, a meteor, something, just some catastrophic world event, right, happen. We haven't. We watch it in movies. And when you watch Santa Monica drop off into the sea, or you watch New York, get pummeled, you're watching that in movies. But you have to remember there in that CGI world, technically, you're talking about tens of millions of people instantly dying at once, right? We've never gone through that. We just haven't. Been close. Tsunami, 2005. That was pretty crazy, wasn't it? Right? So we don't know. And the science that says that we are causing it, they have the opposition that says clearly we are not. Right? And then there's the other part of this that needs to be considered, and that is it just something cyclical with nature and our Earth that we just don't understand? You go and look at the timelines, and you start to study, and you take a look around and look at the timelines of glaciation and those events right now. I mean, just in the last in the last 3,000 years, going back to around 5,000 years to 2780, 3000 BC. Those are all the modern ice ages that we have been going through just recently, right? And those are the known ice ages in the modern times. But there were no cars, right? I don't think humans were doing it at 2450 BC, 720 BC, 450, 420. So is it something cyclical? Is there something going on with nature, our Earth, that we quite simply don't understand? We can see the cycles. We have gone through 5 major ice ages going back a few 100 million years, 400 million years ago. 5 major ice ages, right? Now, and what goes with that, we look at the ice age part of it. Right now, the Earth is heating, but we've come out of the ice ages. So it's a cyclical thing of heating and cooling that we have to take a look at. And is it just something that is completely to be expected, that there's nothing that we can do about it? And I'm going to come back to that point here in just a second. But is it just something that we don't understand and that we cannot control? It's going to happen. Is it that? And then there's the other part. Is it the sun? Is it our own sun? Is it something just as simple as that? Right? And just something as simple as that. I'm not referring to our Earth. And when I say that it's something cyclical with nature, with our Earth that we don't understand, what I'm saying by that is we have our wobble that happens here. That's the first thing. We have our center, our molten core. That's liquid metal, which we don't understand. We have not been down there. We only guess what's really down there. We don't know what put the Earth here to begin with. We do not. These are things that we just don't know, right? So with all of that, is there something going on with our Earth that is cyclical, that it is going to do this whether we are here or not? Because it's done this without us being here many times. Now, when we talk about on this show about 10,000 BC and all of the evidence that is piling up about 10,000 BC and the end of the last modern ice age, and you need to think about North America and what was going on here and around the planet, Northern Europe. You need to really stop and think about what was going on. Just a little blip in the radar, 12,000 years ago. We just came off of this. So this isn't something that is distant memory or anything like that. No, this is real. This is real stuff. Okay, now, then there's the sun. Could it be just something going on there? You and I don't know anything about any mass ejections with the sun. We don't know anything about temperature change. We only know what science tells us, right? What satellites tell us. What government organizations tell us, what universities tell us. That's what we know. You, myself, we don't have satellites and we don't have our own data coming in, streaming into our homes that we can look at and analyze and make up our own minds. So we don't know. We do not know. So could it be that? Now, the bigger question is with all of it, if it's us, is it something cyclical with nature? Is it the sun? Is there something we can do about it? Right? Is there something that we can actually do? I'm not so sure, and this is how I really feel. I'm not so sure if we shut down every single factory in the world, every electrical cold fire plant in the world, all electric cars, switch to solar power. If we did all of that and somehow got rid of the landfills and somehow got rid of grazing cattle and somehow, all of the list is long, that it would change things. I'm not so sure. I don't know. I don't have a clue. And when we're talking about this is the other frightening thing, and it was about a year ago. where we are dealing with things being sprayed in our atmosphere and the testing of certain things to possibly stop, this global warming trend and turn some temperatures around. That maybe that's some of the testing that's going on right now. But is that something that could be reversible if there is a mistake? I have the data here, but I don't have the time to get into it. The testing that Harvard is doing, that clearly is testing in our atmosphere, and the stuff that they are spraying could actually cause salt rain, right? Salt water raining down on us. And is that something that we can't think about this because we're messing with Mother Nature? So that is the big question that we have here. Now, we have this Delaware-sized iceberg right now that is broken off the ice shelf from Larsen Sea. Is this something that is just natural? Is what's going on in Greenland right now, is this natural? Is it? I don't know. Is there anything that we can do to reverse it? I don't know. Do we pack up and move Miami? I don't know. I really don't. But what I really want is for everybody to just somehow work it out where we can discuss this and try to figure out a way to get along. Because it is such a polarizing thing. It's such a polarizing thing. When we talk world politics and things in this world right now, everybody's just so polarized. Trigger words. You just say the wrong thing and just you ignite these huge fires. And it's that way right now with global warming. It just is. It's broken off. What is causing it? We need to try to figure it out. And if there is something that can be done, then let's look at that science. If there's nothing that can be done and it is just something natural, then we just have to ride this out. And we'll have to do what ancient Stone Age man did back then, which was move to where the weather is nice. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight is Ken Kuden. Divergent Unity is the subject. This is part 1 of part 2. Tomorrow night, right here, Peter Cameron for part 2. Thursday night's another Fader Night with John Rappaport, and there's no more Fake Newsroom Live, followed by Open Lines. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, and I'll be right back with my guest, Ken Kuden. Stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. This is truly bespoke radio for the masses. You can follow me on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Come and hang out with us. We don't bite. And hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black questions. Okay? Tonight, very special guest, Ken Kuden is here. He is a Divergent innovator, entrepreneur, architect of software, gaming, and life. Ken is a debugger of all systems. His mission is to empower all people, not just a few. Ken finds hope where none lies. He finds solutions where all have failed. He creates a vision when emotions blind the way and ignites realities beyond all imagination. It's a mouthful. That's why tonight is part one. The website, divergentunity.oy2k.com. It's right there at jimmychurchradio.com. Click on it. Go check it out. We've got a lot of videos that are going to be posted tonight. It's going to be one of those interactive type of evenings, and I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Ken Kuden. Ken, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Thank you.
What's the weather like up there in the Great White North?
The Great White North, well, I just sent the polar bears to bed, and it's a little cool tonight, but it's I guess it's not as warm as down there in California, wherever you are. Right? Yeah,
it's pretty roasting down here at the moment. But what I've got to do first and get out of the way is our first-time guest disclaimer, Ken, and this is what it is. It's just you and I sitting on my couch talking as friends. Where the conversation starts, It starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay, now this is it's not only you and your team there. It's not only an ambitious project, but it's a big project. You've got your feet right now underneath you, and the facility and so forth, and we'll get into all of that. But changing the world, where did you get this idea?
Well, I mean, I've done realities in the past. It was a company I brought called Europe Canada in '92, and it was back then the internet wasn't around, and so we had to. I think Dungeons and Dragons, all that good stuff.
Right, of course.
Yeah. So I mean, I was into that at an early age. I was always into creating worlds And so when I created Neuro Canada, it was brought up from the States. It was you create worlds from scratch, and we have to, you create goblins and all the Lord of the Rings stuff, and then you invite people to the world to play into it, and they escape the reality that the base reality that we're in, and then they lose themselves. So the couple of years ago is when I started getting the itch again to make that happen, and I started looking around on the internet, and I was amazed at the stuff being written for us in creating this new world that we could all exist in. But what I found was nobody was doing it. They're all doing it in small parts, but as you get going faster and faster, and we'll get into this, what debuggers do in the software world. But as you learn to detach from everything and then just listen to everybody. And so as I was going faster and faster through the internet, I noticed all these little siloed groups, and they're doing the right stuff, but yet there's so much noise out there, the entropy, the chaos, they're just being buried. And so now you have Trump, you have other world leaders. We're back to this duality again, the bad Soviets versus the West and the East. And then so I started, shaking my head, and I'm like, there's got to be an answer here. And so I started looking, and I started finding more answers, and then I realized that, at its core, this is just one big system.
Well, isn't duality, isn't that just us, right? Is there any way to pull out of that, or is it just, positive and negative, light and dark, white and black? It's just something that we'll never get away from.
Right, and so in the computer world, when you coding, we are stuck in, and have been stuck in the realm for the longest time in what we call binary coding. It's zeros and ones.
Right.
What do you have there? You have duality, right? And so it's a reflection of the human mind in the way of things. We're talking about quantum minds. We're slowly getting there, right? But anytime, if you're talking about a quantum mind versus a linear mind or a duality mind, especially in the current system, and I talk about the world system, as soon as you try to speak up in a quantum mind, a multiverse mind, you're immediately labeled, right? So in my case, as I grew up in 72s when I was born, in that era, ADHD, it's attention hyperactivity disorder, was just coming in, and we were the problem childs. Right, and we're the ones that can't sit in class. Many times, back then the strap was just being, moved out.
Right.
Got threatened with it once. My mom was in that principal's office so fast, and that never got used again. And so...
That's funny. That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny.
Excuse me. My mom, she was... pure fire. And it was... So, back in those times, they didn't quite know what to do with it. Now Ritalin was just coming around, and my mom would have nothing with it, and it allowed me to grow up outside the system, right? That whole educational system. Now it wasn't an easy journey by any stretch, but what it allowed me to do, and just like you were talking about, it allowed me to walk outside of that duality.
Right.
Right, and so in the classroom when all the kids got to play together, I try to interact, but that only lasts for so long because all of a sudden our ADHD, our impulse disorders, people say things, and then all of a sudden we react in a strange way, and then you're the headless rooster, and then they send you to the corner.
Well, what's funny with that is you're the perfect guy then, right? You're the perfect guy to put this together.
And that's so with ADHD, our prefrontal. As science is catching up now. Remember, what I'm talking about is in the Western civilization. If we went over to the East and we talked about ADHD, or even in the indigenous populations, right now, or in India, and you talk about things like ADHD or bipolar or schizophrenia or oppositional defiance or things like that. They consider it the spirits coming through,
right?
Because you're divergent. You're becoming divergent from the normality, right? So it's here in Western civilization. Let's break open the book now, which is called the DSM, and in that book is anything opposing the system's train of thought or normality of control, right? The way they used to control people here. So it's in the Western civilization, we're fighting these dogmatic walls that are constricting us at all angles, where you can't even bring in divergence, right? Unless the divergent agrees with the system in that, what you got? Oh, that's divergent. That'll make a ton of money, right? So let's do that. Right. Oh, but that doesn't hurt anybody or oppose what we're going to do. It's not going to shake the foundations of corporations or anything like that. So that's okay. Let's do. Oh, that will shake the foundation. Okay, you can't do that. And then if you keep pressing that, all of a sudden you're labeled as crazy. Right. And so
let me jump in there. There's one point that you have raised that is very, very important when you're looking at a duality with ones and zeros, and you look at what is the alternative, which is both, which is quantum computing, right? Or either is another way to put it. Is it the next phase also with humanity in general, which is you don't have to be on this side of the fence. You don't have to be on this side of the fence. You can also be in either, in the middle, that's looking at both sides and make a decision there. And maybe you can be both at the same time. And that's a big, big step to take, but that's the way that I look at the world. I completely look at it that way, and I think that we're starting to move in that direction, don't you?
Yes, and it's when you sit on the fence, if we're going so in quantum physics, we'll just do three states now, but we'll call it -1, 0, and 1.
Right.
Okay. And again, where have you heard of this before? Right, in Eastern philosophy and Zen, right? It's the state of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and in that state of nothing is where something can become. Right. So the way I describe it is so even right now as I'm speaking, I'm normalizing myself. So imagine, I love surfing the waves of the ether, if you want to call it, or space.
Right.
Because up in there, I can jump from wave to wave to wave, or probability point to probability point, without collapsing that wave into a form. Right. And then what that allows me to do is, like you're saying, sit on the fence. Okay, I like this probability. Oh, I don't like that one. That's I don't know, evil, or whatever the case may be. Oh, I like this one. And then there'll become a point. So this sitting on the fence, when you can do it well, is you jump, say, 6, 7 points, probability points, and then you take those 6 or 7 probability points and you collapse them down into something. So now you get into what we talk about in manifesting things in this reality, right? And so it's more than just the linear mind. Okay, I'm going to sit on the fence. Mm-hmm. Oh no, I'm going to go to 1. No, I'm going to go to 2. Right? There's a flow to it. Right, and that requires us to get back into the flow of nature. Right? Something that we left a long time ago.
So now that we've got this part of it laid out for you, and you figured out that there's some crazy stuff going on in the world, and that there are people attempting to do this, but there is pushback and there's interference for whatever may be that cause. So then Divergent Unity is formed. Now, what are the goals of that? We're going to take this off into 100 different directions here in just about 60 seconds.
Okay.
But what are the goals and why Divergent Unity?
So we definitely have to unify. And the planet is trying to do that. You have a number throughout the world. There are groups, children crying out from all different angles. There are mothers and and groups of families that are just being hammered, beyond hammered. And then you have these groups that are forming around these families to try and empower them, to try and make it better. But those groups are forming within the system's mentality of thought, right? We're going to, so NGOs are a perfect example, right? A lot of people pretty much know as something continues on for long enough, it gets corrupted, and it can't be as effective as it once used to be. So long as money is a problem, or so long as money is involved, it stops the creative thinking from happening, right? It can't go as far as it wants to. And so Divergent Unity is about taking that unity, and instead of looking at all these in the Western world, instead of looking at ADHD and the autism spectrum, as I mentioned, and bipolar and all that, that group, they all walk within a evolutionary field. They're at this, the edge of evolution, and being brought about by epigenetics, right? So, and that epigenetics, where the environment of the natural system will create divergence, different species, and so Divergence is about gathering these individuals together as a living system, not just a computer system, and then trying to take those minds that think completely different than the other 90%, and then building the models around them, putting them up, in these think tanks, right? So because they don't think in the normalized way, and then having them compute these divergent paths. So, for example, when I'm looking for solutions, all I'm doing, I'm climbing on everybody's shoulders. I know what I want. Okay, I'm going to look here. Oh, somebody's doing that. Okay, now I'm going to climb on that person. What are they doing? Okay, I got these 3 things. I'm going to take those because those other 2 aren't going to match with these 5 other things, right? And then, so it's a system of thought, a way of finding solutions that have never been done before. But it requires to continue to climb up on shoulders. And the hardest thing is detaching from what you thought you knew. So it's a continual, I think you remember if you've seen Doctor Strange, that moment where he's going through the door, right? And he's told, to get through these doors, you have to forget everything you thought you knew. And it's such a hard thing for any person to do. Now, ADHD people, we love, there's, what do we say, as soon as a squirrel runs by, we're like, oh, squirrel, there goes another squirrel, there goes another. Our attention is going everywhere. And to normalize is can last for a bit, but then all of a sudden we get bored, right? And so you could think of the internet is perfect for us, right? Especially digging through all the crap that's out there, right? Because there's a lot of information, a lot of misinformation, but in that information, even in misinformation, there's always grains of truth that follow back to something else, right? And so you need minds that can absorb tons of information and hold it in their brains at hold it in their brains for a long while. So the way I describe it is I'm going through the internet. What I do to make it faster is I start building realities in my mind, right? So actually, instead of, it starts off with words, and then I'm putting it into paintings, right? And then I'm holding multiple paintings in my brain. And then in those paintings, I'm joining those paintings together to get faster solutions, right? So it's in genetic programming, it's called evolutionary algorithms, right? They take stuff that's already done through genetic algorithms, which are like, I'll simplify that. Rabbit holes of, when you go down a rabbit hole, those are like genetic algorithms, right? So evolutionary programs take all the information that all those little rabbit holes are digging up or putting together, and then we start aggregating all that information. And so what it does is it allows you to spin through information faster, and since you're dealing in holistic views of things, you can find solutions. So Divergent Unity now, what would do, and I've been told by the magician to read this so as a little coherence for everybody, is we've created what's called the Game of Frequencies. And what it is a cosmic venue that will host the largest unification of divergent minds ever assembled over the whole planet.
Yeah, you write here, I'm just going to read this for the audience. Divergent Unity has stepped up to the global stage with a new universal empowering platform for all innovators, businesses, and people alike to step onto it. As the catalyst conductor, our company has written the next Mozart piece for all humanity, and together, by assembling key, highly specialized band members, we will raise the frequency of all beings to a spacefaring level culture and leave the old destructive, enslaving reality behind. Now, it sounds great, right? It does.
Yep.
Right?
Sounds great.
Warm and fuzzy.
Yep.
Right? Nearly impossible. Right?
Nearly impossible, sure.
Yeah, nearly
sure,
impossible.
That's in a normalized mindset. Sure, I agree with that.
Yeah, and now it's hard to find somebody that would argue with this, right? Argue against it. Everybody would, right. But it's another thing to get people off of their focus in life in general to this, because they are. I mean, the status quo. The status quo is the hardest thing to break. Right, that's it, because it's the easy path, and they are so tuned like a guitar, right? They're so tuned into that lifestyle that breaking out of it or accepting something else for the betterment of the planet, it's like the most impossible thing to do, and we've been trying to do it forever, haven't we?
Right. Yeah. No, and we have, and. So there's a good quote from Adam Grant. He wrote a book recently called Originals, and you'll notice a lot of these books starting to come out now, right? So let's frame everyone's mind into the game of frequencies. I will use every frequency on the earth, and I mean frequencies.
Right.
I don't care if it's a bottle of water, a candle, book, anything. I will use it in order to, because remember, the dogma, the system we're in the West is science-based. Right, so they want empirical information, right? They can't stand the sort of the esoteric views or the religious views of that there's something higher than us, right? And obviously, as we come closer and closer, we're realizing it's pretty obvious that there are higher frequencies. Whatever you call that, whatever you manifest that into your visual reality, whether it's God, Jesus Christ, Muhammad, Buddha, who cares? Right, it becomes a care when you start using it to bat people over the head with.
That's right. That's right. Well, and to I want to go back to the word quantum and quantum computing here, and you're absolutely right. In the West, it's got to be facts. It's got to be facts backed up by facts, right? And that's the science that's the world that we live in over here, and then. Yeah. Silicon Valley comes along and says, hey, wait a minute, okay, quantum computing is real. We're building these now, and since we are doing this, and qubits are now operating in a parallel world, right? And now that is ones and zeros and a qubit and an other. That is now suggesting that it does exist, that there is another world out there that we don't understand, another dimension, but science is proving that, and now we've got a problem, don't we?
Oh, a huge problem, right? Because now I like to say that, I mean, and this is where transhumanism comes in, we are not, as a species, and I'll say this as an empirical statement, we are not mature enough to handle AI or the quantum machines in our given state in the way with the model of the Earth is set up, so far as the corporations. If you want your first artificial intelligence that was ever created, it is corporations. They are an entity under the eyes of law, and they have more power than humans do, if you want to think about it in terms of control and the way that they work over the planet. And in those shells, they have rules, little algorithms, little methods that dictate how they run, and then where do they get their energy from?
Us. Yep.
Exactly.
100%. They are living and breathing.
Yes, and they get it from us. And we have failed miserably just with those because they've been abused. Now you want to put in AI, deep learning, robots run by it, and we have no control on it because can we have meaningful can the majority of the mass public, at least with corporations, we can look them up. When you start designing AI algorithms and methods, it's all boxed away, and you have no clue what's written in there anymore. It's written by somebody with an intent. That intent, the person who wrote it, is now governed by somebody above them. So there is a reason why they're writing that algorithm. And right now, big data is the big thing. This is the moment we have in human time for humanity to step up together and take our future back. There has never been what I like to say is a Goldilocks moment in our time than now, but we have to unify to do it.
The tipping point is extraordinary. It is, and it's right in front of us. Most people don't understand, and the point that you are making here is so huge that we need to step back and try to unravel this, because there is not one human on this planet that understands everything. You know, there is no CEO of a large corporation, whether it's Coca-Cola, AT&T, Verizon. You pick the company that understands absolutely everything about that company. He does not. They have gotten right. They've gotten way too big, and part of that issue inside of that is software and AI. There isn't one person out there that understands everything. And potentially that tipping point, if without wrapping and winding it up and controlling it, if it tips, it's going to tip in a big way.
Yes, no, it absolutely will, and it's at least right now when we debug programs and we sit down at the computer, right, and we can attach to the program, to the application, and we can go into the methods. Right, and this is where code, lies, and it executes functions, and there's inputs and outputs. Right, so it's pretty good because we can sit down at the computer right now and hook up to it, and we can control it. So there's your manual effort. Now let's fast forward a bit, and when AI starts running, it's drawing and dynamically updating itself. It has learning algorithms in it. No longer do you just sit down at the computer and hook up to the method, especially once it's running and becoming, semi-sentient, right? Because it's drawing on big data, right? And it's forming itself around that big data. So let's, there's a number of movies escaping me right now, but let's, we have a full running robot talking, an AI robot talking. Well, how would you debug that robot? It's drawing on big data. You don't want to hook up to it with a debugger anymore and rewrite its code to find out what's wrong, because if there was 10 of them, 9 of them were all the same, and then the 10th one is now different than the 9, the 100th monkey. And
it's going to constantly modify itself.
It's going to constantly modify itself, so you don't want to erase the data.
You can't do it.
Right?
Hey, Ken, Ken, I got to jump in. We got to take a break right here.
Sure, go ahead.
When we come back, we'll pick up right there. We've got to define big data. What is big data? So we're going to do that. Debugging. What is debugging? And, of course, debugging you. And we'll get to all of it with Ken Knudsen, Divergent Unity, right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. the real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tappy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Our guest tonight, Ken Kuden, Divergent Unity. This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. It's dark, complex, and smoky. Just go to the banner right now over at jimmychurchradio.com. Use the promo code F2B Blend, and you will get 15% off of your order today. All right, now, Ken, this is what we let's backpedal now. We've laid this out. We've laid out the idea. Now we have to talk about some of the logistics here and how this is being put together and what you're actually doing. It starts with debugging, and what is a debugger? We're talking about big data and now the project itself. So let's try to tackle all of this and get the audience to understand a very, very complex issue. Let's start with debugging. What is a debugger?
So a debugger in its simplest form is an analyst, right? So it's somebody that goes into any type of data or situation and analyzes what's happening. And so there's, in the debugging world, there are components. It's easier, just think of your body. You have fingers and you have arms and hands and legs and feet. All those individual pieces we call them components. And then within those little components, your fingers and all that, there's even smaller breakdowns of DNA and genetics, and it keeps going. It's smaller and smaller until you have what we call somethings, right? They're just these little individual atoms, and those are put together in different ways, and boom, you have us or different other types of animals. It's DNA. And so in the debugging world, same type of thing. It's code. It's language, right? Something's called C++, C#, Assembler, 8086. Is all different types of things. It's another language, just like the English language or any other language that's out there. The difference with coding is that you can create things, right? We lost that magic a long time ago with warlocks and witches and all that kind of stuff. But we've regained it in the virtual world with coding. And then when you're putting things together, architects will design what is supposed to happen, and then coders come in, or code monkeys, sometimes we're called, and then we code it and ship it, and you end up with your applications. But obviously, problems happen, right? And it's never that simple, obviously, because you're constantly trying to fix problems, or you're missing things when you're putting things together for applications. And so the debugging mindset, now, coding 60s, around the 60s, 50s, 60s when it came in, there's a lot of legacy code out there from all these different languages. So you have these different pockets of coding civilization over time, right? And there are times, depending if you're going into, depending on what kind of shop you're going into, like banks are notorious for having legacy code. Sometimes you are debugging, 10 different types of languages that are all interrupting together, right? And you're trying to find a problem. And so if you debugging the mindset is you have to listen to all and attach to none, because you can't, if you go in and saying, we'll call it language A, B, and C, I don't like languages A and B, and I only ever like C. Well, if you only look at language C, you're only analyzing, debugging language C and ignoring A and B, are you ever going to come to the proper solution? You may have a bandage solution, but you will never come to the holistic solution, right? So that mindset of listening to all and attached to none is very important when you're looking at humanity as a whole and our systematic problems, right? Because you have all these different groups, and now you start treat it as a living system instead of a computer system, software system, because that's what we are, is living systems. And when you look at all the different groups, some of them only want pure light, right? Don't come in here with any negativity. Well, there's your A that you refuse to look at, right? Another group, only believes God-centric views, and they don't want to listen to anything else. Well, there's your B, right? And so, and then, then there's a C group. Well, can you ever get these three together then, if they're going to be refusing to interact with each other? So there's our first problem on this planet.
Right.
Is all these components are not coming together. And so you can teach a debugger's mindset. You don't have to be a computer coder. That's one of the things, that a process that we've designed and have started laying out. And something we need to do very, very much is to get people to step out of the what we like to call the snow globe, right? The snow globe, everyone understands the snow globe, and it's to get you out of the snow globe so that you can be in space, look down on Earth, and then see all the pieces in their individual forms running around, just like you're playing Civilization or some other game like that.
Right.
And put you into the role, dare I say, as a God creator, right? Because if you think about it, in game development, so Unity is a very, very popular one. When you create worlds, you're in effect playing God, right? Because you're creating the world. What's the first thing you do in a game development? It's a rhetorical question, because I'm going to answer it. The first thing you do is let there be light, because you can't see anything in the damn world.
Right.
So you have to put this little light object so at least you can see in the dark, right? And then you start putting land down, right? Or and then you build it up from there, right? So we need to, and then that's getting people up out of their maze, right? Getting them up out of the maze to say, look, if you just go through the actions, right, instead of just reading the words, go through the actions and try creation, right? Then you'll be forced to now not forced, but you will go through the motions of learning to use all these other different divergent means and not just one way of doing something. And that's the problem in the system right now, is it's very left-brained. Right? There's one way of doing something. The school system is notorious for it. We all know it. It's all, it's broken and has been for a long time, but it's like that for a reason. Right?
And then we have big data. And not only is it a real thing, big data is mounting more and more and more every single day. It sounds like a very simple thing to say, but it is. It's the next frontier. It's where all the money is being made, and it's being collected by the boatload every single second. And
That's right.
and it's being monetized.
And owning it.
That's right. That's exactly it. And a lot of it is free. I mean, collecting it is easy. And who is collecting it and why?
That's right.
Right? And
you said an important point there. A lot of it's free. Well, it's free because we're getting to use things that are free to produce that data. But is anything ever really free in the system?
No, there's not. And every time, every time you register a product these days, right, or sign online and give something, that data is being bought and sold and traded out there as a commodity. But the companies themselves are collecting it for free and then monetizing that.
Yes, that's right. And that big data. And this is going back to that Goldilocks moment in our time. It's free and it's open to everyone right now. We call it open source, right? There's a really good book to read. So Robert David Steele, The Open Source of Everything, is a good place to start on this.
Yep.
And so we have this moment to again come together because it's free. It's like the chessboard is being open to everyone to enter if they know how to do it. Right, and then to put your cards onto the table and say, I'm going to go for, and this is innovation and entrepreneurship, right? So it's I'm going to make a play for the ruling class, whatever that may be, right? So and big data, what it allows us to do now fast is seek the truth to everything that's out there and communicate at quantum levels of speed, right? And what's important now in this West, the East is coming back into the West with the philosophies and the empowerment of the individuals. But where does the West have everyone's attention? Look at me. Look at the artificial intelligence. Look at this new gadget. Look at this. Where's the empowerment to the person, right? And that is what we can unlock. It's something we call the quantum biological interface, right? And that debugger mindset will help unlock that because it's the same way that individuals have been programmed. There's two words I'll give. Everyone can look this up. I think it's very important if you've never come across it. It's called ideological subversion, right? It's a way to, you've all heard of different ways, gang stalking. There's all this different stuff that's out there. The one that I've always gone to, and it's incredible because it's a Soviet spy that was coming over, and when he got to the United States, he was like just blown away, bowing to the system of the West and how well it had demoralized the American population. Right, and so there's 4 stages to ideological subversion: demoralization, destabilization, crisis. Does any of that sound familiar?
Yep.
And then the last is normalization. Somebody comes in on a white horse, and from all the chaos and entropy, let's go, oh my God, and then everything gets normalized and back to normal. Well, how many times over history, just even in the last thousands of years, has this happened over and over and over? Right, and so this is what the debugging mindset needs to be embraced when going at the big data, because it's going to allow you to take all these pockets of information, and the goal is to be able to not fall down rabbit holes, right? We need to bring you up onto the clouds, and then up on the clouds is where, again, the waves, you can ride the waves, and then you look down the rabbit holes, but you try not to go down too far, because when you go down the rabbit hole, then you're going for weeks and on ends. Everyone's been down rabbit holes. So, but the more you can join the dots, the more you can just take brush strokes in a painting, right, and then put them on a board, and then map them together. You will find solutions faster, and then being able to take that, as a whole and go, okay, if I have this solution here, what are they saying here? because you're seeking the truth at this point. And that's our window of opportunity right now, is to have that happen on a global scale. And that's going right down to the root of issues. And that's where debuggers, when they're trying to find things, this, memory leaks in an application or it keeps crashing, a lot of time you can apply Band-Aid solutions to it just to, get it out or make the customer happy. But when it keeps happening, at some point you have to literally break down the whole thing again, right, to its individual pieces and go, okay, why, which small component here is messed up. And so Elon Musk has a great quote where he's talking about the planet Earth as in itself, it's a spaceship that we're on. It's just a rock floating in space, nothing big there. And, it's all the solutions. We're sinking hard, right? And all the solutions being applied right now are nothing more than Band-Aid solutions. I think that's an inarguable statement. You can't argue with that.
We've
been at how long?
You can't argue with it. Not only you cannot argue with it, but as far as I know, there is no big data or internet police. There is no unifying body there, and there is no off switch. We've only moved forward with reckless abandon. It's been a fun ride. There's no doubt about it. Technology has expanded, and it's been great. But we have done nothing to police it, and there is no off switch that I know of, is there?
Well, there's the magical, what they call, I've never seen the switch, but it's called the kill switch.
Yeah,
right?
the kill switch.
The CIA has it. There's all these things that are out there. So again, it goes to, we can look at the fear stuff and go, oh my goodness, or you can take the bulls by the horn and go, okay, what's really happening, right? And to do that, you have to surf all of the data, all the cultures. You have to accept people talking about God, Jesus Christ, Muhammad, all these other religions. You have to, because now, remember, now in the transhumanism world, they're pushing in that there's a programming God, right? Simulation theory. Well, we've heard all this before, right? It's just in a different context. Now it's in a robotic transhumanism context.
It has to be that way. Well, and this is what I think is so brilliant about transhumanists. If you develop the perfect AI, it's still based on our mindset, that coding that is there. It's going to be a natural progression if it starts to write its own code, which it is doing now. Everybody needs to understand what we are saying here. AI now writes its own code and fixes itself, not only in one instance, but this is going on all over the net. All kinds of corporations now that are developing AI that answers its own questions, right, and fixes itself. It debugs itself.
And it can run 24/7.
It never take a break, no food, no sleep, right? And its natural evolution in writing itself, it's going to have a coding God. It's going to have a maker. It
has a maker. See, you just said the magic word there. It has a maker, right? And so so now it comes into the same learning algorithms that we are. Now, remember, something I always say, humans, in my opinion, there's a lot of stuff out there, we don't create anything new. What do? We investigate nature, and we copy nature around it. We may think it's new, but nature sure to hell does it better than we can ever do, because this system's been running perfectly for billions of years.
That's right.
And here comes our little minds in a blip on the radar, thinking we can do better than this system that has been there and we still don't know who made it, right? So it goes back, and it's a question that we pound out of our children from birth. When my two kids, they're both ADHD, 11 and 9, and I make sure, and the question is simple. It's one letter, why. I want you to keep asking why every single day. Don't stop until you feel it in your heart that the answer that the question's been answered. Don't let logic answer the question. Let your feelings, right? And it's, we're born into this world with 5 senses. None of it's language. We have learning algorithms in us to learn the language, but these 5 cents, none of it's language. And when we come into the world, then the culture starts programming us with things, right? So when you get into the genetics, our genetics, there's a template model there, right? There are learning algorithms there. There's mutations. Who made that? Who?
Well, and
right?
yes. And when we're dealing with this, and you had just brought up the kill switch, AI, and certainly the transhumanists out there will agree. Well, this is what they've been talking about for so long. That if it comes to the point of needing the kill switch, at that point we've already been outsmarted, and they know the kill switch exists. You're going to flip it, and nothing's going to happen.
Right, because Stuxnet, other viruses, they sit there, they wait, they know what they're doing, and that's just kids. For a lot of the part, and especially, like I said, I began programming when I was 8 years old on the Texas Instrument, computer, and I learned to code actually before I can read and write properly, because that got my attention. And I still can't read and write properly, right? Don't use big words when you're talking. Use simple words, and sometimes I get confused. It's just the way I go. But but now you have, like, I began my kids at 7 years old coding, and they're coding games, But here's the thing, and we've said this: the artificial intelligence, they're brilliant minds. It's to take nothing away from the individuals doing this stuff. It's just the direction and duress that they're being pushed out under, right, are by these corporate minds, right, that are in profit-oriented, non-humanitarian level modes of thinking. So even now, we had nonprofits. Great, we have nonprofits. They're nonprofit corporations, and they're going to help us in charities and that. They're going to help the humanitarians. Well, it hasn't gone too far. But now you have cause marketing. Right? Cause marketing is this corporations linking up to nonprofits. So you see, so if you turn everything to algorithms, think, okay, if we're in a simulation, everything is energy, vibration, and frequency, right? So we have this coding god that's out there, and so we have this virus in the system, and then it learns. And if you don't operate fast enough, and especially if you do the same thing over and over within the system, well, it knows what you're going to do. So this is one of the problems when you debug. Well, one of the problems I learned early on that I saw early on when I was debugging, when I was debugging humanity's code base, is all these individuals, they got the solution, there it is, and they're doing the exact same thing as these 30 other people, but with just a different little flavor.
And not getting anywhere.
And they're not getting it. Their heart is there. There's nothing. You cannot take away the heart that they have. Zero. But the implementation, right, and the execution is exactly as the system sees it. It's AI Terminator, right?
Well, it is.
Without all the fighting and bombing and stuff.
Well, and we see it every single day, don't we? I mean, you see, homeless people on the street, and nobody, you think to yourself, well, you know what, he'll get help from somewhere. That's not my problem, right?
Exactly.
And you walk by, and it only takes a little, it doesn't take much, right? But it's like, it's somebody else. That happens to somebody else. It's not in my world. I'm not going to get involved. And right. You're absolutely right. You see all of these good-natured projects that really mean something. If it could only take traction, and it just never does. Right. It's like you're hoping that.
And if it. Yep, sir, go ahead.
No, you're hoping that somebody else is going to run with it, and they're going to do great, and it'll be fine. But me, I'm going to continue driving my car, going to the supermarket. I need to buy some stuff and get back home because I've got guests coming over time. I've got to do that, and you're in your own zone, and that permeates, man. And that's the overall view of the world right now. That's the way that everybody looks at everything.
Yeah, and that's so under the ideological subversion. That's the demoralization part, right, where everything just gets so watered down that it's right in front of your face, and you can't even deal with it, or don't even believe it's a problem.
No, you
right?
don't.
And so you were talking about non-for-profits trying to do good, or even corporations that try to do good, right? They're allowed to get so far And then you have all these other big fish, and if they're getting so far to all of a sudden change the system, well, as a corporation level, they get bought out. Or at a non-for-profit level, a lot of them rely on donations or money from larger corporations, etc. Their funding gets cut off, right? So then all of a sudden you stop that change from happening because the enslavements of money, the shackles around the feet are always there. Right, and so if you're about to teeter on the revolution, the system will stop you. Right? And so that's one of the things in the system. There are a lot of groups out there. Let's have a revolution. Let's, some of them are modern day, upgraded hippie groups, and I'm just putting allusions to the past. And other ones are going to go march on the street, and they're 500,000 strong. When you debug, and you have to again detach from all that and go, okay, what has been done before? Well, the MLK march was 1 million. Okay, there's your marker. Has anyone done a 1 million mark, not got shot, right, or infiltrated by other groups? And then you have to keep amping up your what do you call it, the cliff that you want to climb up upon. Because if you do anything less than that, the system's got you beat. It has you hands down beat. You see this in the American politics. The same thing happens. Oh, let's go march on, and you guys have the longest. I lose attention. It's crazy. At least Canadian politics go a lot quicker, but the American politics go on for years, and it's the same thing over and over. Right, but they don't show anything different. They show one side or the other, and meanwhile, everyone's who's paying attention realizes that that's just what they call the puppets and all that. Right, there's whoever's controlling that money is the one controlling the system. I don't like to put names to things because again, at debugger you don't want to collapse the way, so I just call it systems, and I put things in forms of algorithms. Right, so instead of there's a number, everyone knows, who's controlling the money systems or those corporations. Break things down to a systems level. That way it doesn't become personal, right? And if there's ever a possibility for naming individuals controlling corporations, we'll use the word repent. There's your door open. Right, so when you present, and the thing that we're presenting with Divergent Unity is one of the things as we go along, is it's okay. Root basic question in the scientific experiment is we can prove that we're in a simulation. So yes or no. Okay, so if it's a simulation, let's keep everything at a systems level, and let's just treat it as algorithms. We have a virus in the system. One of the viruses has been around the money, and it's been shackling everybody and keeping them in use allegory of a cave, Plato's Republic thing, that everyone's in the cave, right? And we have masters behind with the fire, people are shackled to the wall, and they only get to see the objects on the screen, right? And then every once in a while, there'll be these divergent individuals, and this is what they're finding with ADHD now, that it's an evolutionary gene, right? There's always this gene throughout history that's pushing these individuals. So Vikings were an example, the West, or what do you call it, Britain and all that, were settled. They had their little wars, but then the Vikings push out and they come onto the shore, and they were very deadly in the beginning, right? But so it's the constant explorer. Sitting in Plato's cave, that doesn't count.
No, it doesn't.
They don't like that kind of
No, absolutely not. Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Ken Knudsen, Divergent Unity. The links are up. Okay, we've laid the groundwork here. Now, what are they doing about it? We will discuss all of that when we come back with Ken Kuden. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo
yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Ken Kuden, Divergent Unity. This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by New Pharma. That's GNUpharma.com. Go to the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com, click on it, use the promo code F2B. That's all you got to do. Now, that's going to get you 33% off of your order, and all of the science behind the company is on their site. Go check out newpharma.com. Our guest tonight, Ken Kuden. Now, Ken, all of this is great, right? It's an amazing conversation, and we're going to continue discussing all of this. But what are you doing about it? Take us through the steps right now and tell us about your facility.
Okay, so we have a place here in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, and following sort of the open source method of everything. It's trying. We don't have a ton of money. Great, because we're pushing a humanitarian stance. We're not pushing a, hey, venture capitalists, look at us. Let's say we can make you a ton of money. We're pushing the, hey, your boat is sinking. We're going to build a new ship, and we're going to, put humanity onto our backs and then, put them onto that ship as well, so that we all work together. And so you can imagine there's no money there. So there's an innovation center opened up here called Open Sky, and it's the first in this area. Which the other ones, the incubator hubs here, they're very much streamlined, to that venture capitalist mindset. And so what Open Sky has done is allows you to use the facilities, and you can, for a very nominal fee a month, around $130. But what it does is it allows you this corporate environment to get to come into, so that you can do your thing, right? And then of course they have offices and rooms and all that. So it's allowed us to. One of the things you want to do, again, like I said, with live role playing, to get going, you need to immerse yourself into the reality or into that environment that you want to build, right? So it makes it a little easier than if you're building it out of the basement of your house. I mean, which I could do, but where we want to go with it. So we needed a bigger space, and so it allows us to now start conceptualizing these bigger ideas and trial and error as we put things together, host people there, which is very important in the beginning. So one of the first things that I needed to do, when I was coming out of the gate with this is at the esoteric end, I got to sit down with some shamans and channelers and individuals that are heavily into the, I hate saying the conspiracy angle, but into the conspiracy fields, right? That are like, the system is not what it is. There's all these different things going on, because the stuff that I'm reading online, it's all there. Okay, I'm organizing it, and then at some point, there's an overwhelming amount of data, and then it's like, holy crap, okay, can this actually be real? So then sitting down with individuals, and then hearing them talk, and then you look, are you scripted, or no, that's actually really your heart talking. Okay, good. And then it, it vibes with everything else that you're reading, and digging through, right? And then you get into the indigenous people, with the indigenous people, and then, talking with them, from the, we'll go with the, what everyone's pretty much familiar with, Disclosure, Corey Good and David Wilcox, that whole bunch. I mean, in the beginning, now remember, I only came onto this 2 years ago, right? So gets a little, as I had said before, I learned backwards. And so what that means is information comes to me. I don't study for it. And I call them downloads in the context of this time. And being science-based, I'll explain. And so what happens is I get all this information into my head. And it was very hard pre-internet days, because you can imagine, with no educational background other than high school, I finally managed to get out of there at 23, only because I finally triggered on first starting my first business. And so what happens is I get all this information, and then I go out and study backwards, right? So I have it. It's the terminology for it in the esoteric or the religious sector. You call it illumination, you call it divine intervention. In the science arena, and this is where part of my having to back up stuff that I talk about, in the science field, you call it sudden genius syndrome, right? It's this moment where you go from one, not knowing anything of a particular subject, whether it's maths, whatever, and then all of a sudden you're, in all intents and purposes, a genius in it. There's no way without, in that instance, from one day to the next, that you should know what you do. So now all of a sudden, science is looking at it. They gave it a term, sudden genius syndrome. But all you have to do is look in all the biblical texts and other, in Hindu texts, and it's a thing. It's always been a thing, right? And it's just information coming down, and all of a sudden we, that aha moment, eureka, right? It just, everything clicks. So that's been a pattern through my life. It's almost like warm-ups for the latest one when my last one went into over 2 weeks over Christmas in 2014. When I had enough, there was a lead up to it, about a year and a half lead up, where I was seeing the world, in a completely new lens, and just shaking my head at the destruction and the constant raping of children, and just all this, right? And it's something a debugger has to look at. You cannot turn away from it. If you can't look at the darkness, you won't find the solutions. Doesn't mean you have to sit on it. You have to notice it, right? Because you have to see what's wrong before you can understand how to fix the wrong. Because if everything is right, there's that polarity again. Everything can't be white and everything can't be dark. There has to be this balance, right? And so those 2 weeks over Christmas, what led me up when I finally had it, call it what you will, I just threw out a prayer, threw out a thing. I said, there must be more I can do. And in that moment, it hit. This time I knew what happened, like what all these things prior in my life, why the information came down the way it did. This time I knew what was going on, right? And the information just got pouring in, right? And it was, the body shaking, channelers may be able to relate with this. And I'm just, I was, the visualization as I was raised out of an ocean, right? It was like, because it was just a cry from the heart. And I was raised up onto the cliff, and it's up on that cliff. If you can imagine now, big data, that ocean is all big data. And I was allowed to be up on that cliff looking over the waters, and all those waves, all those probability points, I was debugging from up there, right? I'm like, okay, there's that problem, there's this problem, I see that problem, okay, if we take that, move that there. It's Minority Report. I'm trying to use visuals in this, this manifestation so people can understand. And the absolute love was undeniable. I'm not collapsing it to any name. I'll let every other religion want to call it what it will. I'm going to call it love for now, right? And that's why I knew, because people, you see it all the time. Some people, because I look at people online, they're ones with schizophrenia or bipolar, and they're immediately tagged, right? Oh, you've got a problem, right? And sometimes you can go over the edge. You have to learn to balance yourself in these situations. But the information that they're writing, right, when you learn to read it, it's real, right? Especially when you start drawing on big data, you can say, oh my goodness, yeah, how did they know that? Meanwhile, they know nothing about it, right? So all of a sudden there's these frequencies coming in, right? And so it was that time I knew it wasn't, you get into, again, oh, you've been co-opted and you're being mind controlled, da-da-da. You can't fake love.
No, you can't. Well, then how do you orchestrate the solution? The architecture must be in place now, and yes, which it is. Right. Yeah. So what is step one?
So step one was coming down off the cliff, back into the ocean, going, okay, now I know what to do. Calm down. Of course, I made the small mistake of, in my excitement, I've figured it out, Eureka! The humanities problems, telling that to my wife. Woo, that was a mistake. Anyway, so there was another 6 months of calming all that down. And then so immediately I go to the internet, right? Because I'm like, okay, I know I have to build this. Well, boom, there's Modern Masters. Okay, I need to build this. Well, boom, there's already boots on the ground trying to do things like that in Robert Steele and Cynthia McKinney and the American public, right? They're trying to lead this from the heart-centric point of view. And then there's NewMap, right? And it just goes on and on. I'm like, oh, I need these guys, I need those guys, I need this guy. All I have to do is get you guys to come together. So I didn't finish my thing earlier on. Adam Grant, Originals. Okay, so there's all these creative books coming up, right? How to be creative. Now remember, you can't be too creative, because if you're creative more than the system wants, you're crazy. Okay, that's in the DSM. Go look it up. And so, originals, there's only to be original, there are two ways that you do it. One is from the bottom up, and the other is from the top down. Anywhere in between, it's red tape, right? It's that normalization. So from the bottom up, you need to go to the civilized to the individuals or to those cultures or to the groups of people that are suffering the most, right? That have nothing to lose. They're like, I'll try it. Let's do this because we're done.
You're talking about at the micro level.
At the micro level, that's right. And so, and the top down are those mavericks, those billionaires, right? They've done it all. So remember ADHD, they just keep pushing and pushing, right? And then they need that thrill. They need that dopamine hit, right? And so these are the mavericks up top, the billionaires, the individual, the cowboys, whatever you want to look at, however you want to look at it. And they'll be like, you want to build a flying saucer? Well, let's do it. Where's your plan? Right? Because they have nothing to lose. They're willing to go. Right. And they're mavericks. They want to push the boundaries. Elon Musk is a perfect example. Someone who's, on the gray of fighting the system versus, holy cow, the system's holding me up. Right? He wants to get to Mars. Why we want to go back in time, I don't know. But anyway, we can get to that later. So, but anything in between, well, there's your normal, they have something to lose, right? There's the fear now. Well, what do you mean I have to let go of my money? Mean I have to change? I think you were talking about change in your opening intro. There, people fear change.
They do,
right? When there's nothing presented otherwise, and then we get back into the duality of what's always presented to humanity, right? It's either this or that, right? So it's either the either the U.S. fighting the bad guy, or it's China and Russia going to beat the bad U.S. Where have we heard all this before, right? Soviets and the U.S. It's the same thing over and over. So there's never been a third option, right? And so that's where I started focusing on, like, there has to be a way to provide a third option, this nullifier to these other two, or a unifier to the other two. But that third option has to be something that's going to smack the ass of those two that have been fighting back and forth forever. Pardon my language, right? So you can't go small. So this is where, when you start looking at the frequency game or the level of play that's going on when Trump comes into the picture, up until that point, everyone's sleeping, right? Regardless of what he says, doesn't matter, right? Think of it from a vibration. Everything goes back to energy, frequency, vibration, and energy. Okay, so just think of it in that sense. This algorithm comes in, everyone's sleeping, right? Nobody's paying attention. You have all these other algorithms that are going on and secretly leading all these, backroom deals, but all of a sudden, when Trump comes in, boom, right? Everyone's like awake. What you can't say that? What? Yeah, but that's been allowed for centuries now to happen, right? So now, again, all the vibration, all the little sand grains are vibrating on the plate, right? And everyone's like alert. So there's another reason why it's our Goldilocks moment, because now they're paying attention again. Right, so remember that demoralization, right? To normalize them to such a level, they don't care, right? You can't present anything to them. And so this is that moment where we come in with the top down. So it's a two-pronged approach. First prong, the bottom up, which is where we're sort of focusing right now, is the empowerment of the people, right? And it starts with, and this is, a lot of people don't pay attention to this, the Trail of Tears and the reconciliation reports here in Canada, the Indigenous people, right? If you want to talk about anyone that is still in concentration camps, right? Oh, but it's fine. They're just reserves, right? They're dying in astronomical numbers. If we can't empower them to rise up as keepers of this planet, right? We have individuals ready to build ship. It's all over the place, right? Elon Musk, all these, they're ready to ban and ship, right? And take off and leave all these problems that were created by that mindset. So our thing is, well, okay, we're going to build a ship too, and we're not going to leave until every single person, on this planet is going to get on, because they didn't create the problem, right? It's one thing, and it goes back to, it's one thing when you're in ignorance, right? You get a free pass, even no matter how much you know. But the more you know, well, the less you know. But there comes a point when you have a privilege to know, you have a duty to act. right? And that's something that's hard for people to get. And it's the indigenous people have been there. They've been ignored. You get these little things, we're going to, we'll help you out. But it's, Standing Rock was a perfect example, right? All these pipeline, that algorithm was going in. Let's just keep putting stuff down. Let's destroy the nature. Let's, poison the waters over here and then just turn a blind eye because we can. And then if they try to do anything, we're going to water cannon their asses, to wherever. And then make them look like the bad guys. Provoke. Because that's what the system wants. It wants you to be provoked and then retaliate.
Well, that's
right?
Well, okay. Let me jump in real quick before we hit the break. That's one prong. You said there were two. What's the second prong?
Is the top down. So you need something. So Trump has set the bar. Crazier than now, right? It's like so he set the bar. So you need something that's even crazier, right? And so that top down is throwing down a humanitarian level gauntlet to all those top end boys, and I'm talking about Elon Musk and Yuri Milner and Sir Richard Branson and da-da-da. You throw down this something that's steeped in science, right? So you can't get out of it. You can't just make a philosophical discussion out of it. And you say, we have a process right now. If you care about humanity and you do, like you say, you care about humanity and you want to help them, then look over here. Try this.
And what's right. and how do you and how do you plan to do that?
So you enter the corporation field. So there's we incorporate and we're getting into a whole you gamify the whole solution, right? So on a gamification level, what we do now, so this is that reality. We say you present a number of hypotheses. One of them is we can prove that we live in a simulation, right? So Nick Bostrom and all those groups, they would love to prove that we live in that. So we're saying one of the hypotheses is that we have a process to prove that we live in a simulation. Disclosure is another huge one. Everyone's just begging for it, right? This, that there are ETs out there. Well, fine. Let's begin disclosure. And we can prove that there are higher frequencies out there, right? So, but you can't go into it in what we'll call the base zero civilization because it's people's reality. Remember that middle, right? That middle, they're going to you'll shake their foundation. And their cognitive dissonance isn't going to hear you. As soon as you put it into a game, you've taken them out of the reality. Everything's fine now because it's just a game.
And I need you to expand that and clarify exactly what you're suggesting.
Which part?
The gamify. The gamify. I mean,
gamify.
That's a broad stroke of the pen, So, do you mean that in a literal sense, or in a morality type of sense, in a suggestive sense? When you say gamify,
you gamify it. Well, what's Modern Masters doing?
Right.
Right. You gamify. So we have to. So right now, we can't even bring religion back into it. Right, we can't even talk about God or these other deities, right, that were abstracts of their time, whether they're real or not. Remember, debugger, you have to detach, right? But we can't even get that conversation going. And there's one of the problems, is that we're trying to have a conversation. So David Bohm is a perfect, what do you call it, the top 20 physicists of all time. His essay on dialogue. There's a difference between conversations and dialogue. Conversation is I'm trying to prove my point to you, and I'm trying to be right. A dialogue is big data, is what I've been talking about. We're on the sea. I'm going to start throwing out all these points, and you throw out all your points. Neither of us is trying to prove the other right. We're trying to work together to evolve our understanding of what that data is, what it means, and look at it in different angles.
And so... Well, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and so the gamification aspect of it, by bringing them into a different reality, and then having all these distributed types of games that boil into a singularity of intent, right? That intent being evolving humanity to a new level of consciousness. right, is the way to get people, especially millennials, who have no desire for the current system in the way that it's formed, to get them to come in and participate in this process of, look, we're in trouble, the boat is sinking, we need your help to figure out how to build it, a new boat, right? And so one of the things that we do is build a clean room. Right, this is very common in biology or in computer rooms where you need the room to be absolutely clean, right, so that the data doesn't get corrupted. Well, you can do the same thing with big data, right? But you don't want to make it boring. You need to make it fun, right? That way, individuals, can play the game, and while they're playing it, they're cleansing the data. And then that data comes and pushes up into a whole new what we call an authoring system or universal narrative, right? So you enter into the story wars of our time, right? And it's that new narrative is all pushing through this singularity of intent, which has 7 principles. When you're cleaning this data, you're pushing it all through these 7 principles, which is love, beauty, kindness, creativity, expansiveness, unlimited abundance, and receptivity. That's simple. Just clean the data, look for those, anything that doesn't, if it's war, if it's what do you call it, war games or any type of violence games, Grand Theft Auto, my goodness, right? I mean, they're using the same methods in the system's using the same methods now to train children to become expert, drone pilots, expert gun individuals. Never mind the old-fashioned days of dad buying the red BB gun to start, indoctrinating his kid into violence. It's the video games are doing it for them now. There's your algorithm going again.
Yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah, 100. There's no question about that. Yeah, right. I mean, none at all.
And now you have drones coming along, right? And kids, and I think it was in the U.S., if I know it's something around this, for the first time in whenever, there were more children hired for drone piloting than boots on the ground. It was something like that.
Well,
but you can see the switch coming.
It's one of the biggest demands out there right now is number one, I mean, the growth industry, drone pilots, 100%. Let's take a break right here, Ken. Divergent Unity is what we're talking about tonight. Now, when we come back, all of this is great, and it's wonderful. But what about the 3.5 billion people on this planet that don't even know what a computer is? I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigraLief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigraLief migraine formula. MigraLief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigraLief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354 or visit MIG911.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Ken Knudsen, Divergent Unity. Their website is right there, jimmychurchradio.com. Click on it and go check it out. This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Life Change Tea. Just go to the banners right now at jimmychurchradio.com. It'll take you to getthetea.com. The promo code is FADER, F-A-D-E-R. Will get you free shipping. They have a great special going on right now. 3 months of Super Tea. You get the new pomegranate Super Tea thrown in. Okay, there you go. Getthetea.com. Promo code FADER. Now, Ken, one of my concerns with all of this, everything that we're talking about, we have 7.5 billion people on this planet. 3 billion live in garbage dumps. Right? Okay. No computers. They don't know about you. They don't know about me. They've never heard of disclosure. They've never heard of the internet. Right? They don't even know who the Kardashians are. Right? Okay. So, and all of this is great, but what about them?
So what about them? So a lot of the misconceptions is that you need all 7 billion people on the planet to make the change. Right? A lot of the time you just need to cast one pebble. So there's another fundamental principle called the 80-20 principle. Right? It's the vital few against the trivial many. And so it means if you go after 20% of the vital organs, the vital systems, the 80 will follow. Right? So in this case, if you can identify 20% of the problems, as an example, in the system, the key things, then the rest will morph or evolve around it, right, or change with it or follow. So the people that are in the dumps or in the case, they don't have access to computers. So in the gamified sense, that's where the live portion comes in, right? How many people now are chasing little virtual augmented Pokemons around the world? That seemed to work, didn't it?
Right.
Right, with Pokemon Go. And you can do the same thing. It's about bringing the human touch, the human quality, the Mother Teresa to these areas, gamified. If you can have on a litter bar or a trash bin, the only cure to litter is you, well, the only cure to humanity is you. right? And then so what you do is you start intertwining the live aspect of the gamification and the online into these areas, right? And maybe one of the quests that you have to go on is, hey, go to that homeless guy like we talked about earlier. When you sit down, grab his story, and let's pump that into the authoring system, and then we're going to make his story known so he has a voice, right? And we make him into a hero, right? And then, we start pumping it up from there, right? And so you bring what the gamification process allows to do. People love leveling up, right? It's the kids are built on this, right? It started when I was, when I was a kid, and now it's just plastered into the mindset. So you use that, right? You use that and have them go out there and that's the quest. And other parts of it are going into the indigenous communities to bring exposure there, not just going there from humanitarian. What we got to do is to get there, and maybe they got to learn something, right? And then they got to teach them something, right? So the interaction starts, and then they get level ups. The kids are born on that stuff, right? The adults, it's harder for them to understand. You got to work a little differently with them. But the millennials, the ones that are, as they say, are walking around zombified, right? Because there's not this holier now, this greater beacon lifted up for them. They're not going to do it. But if they are presented with that, and there's a chance, then they will go to it. Right?
Do you have to bypass the guys that are running mutual funds, that top 0.1%? Forget about the 1%ers, right? We're way beyond and do you have to bypass that altogether and reach out? And the reason why I say it like that is if any one of those mutual fund guys, the Bill Gates of the world and all of that real money, all they would have to do is let go of 2, 3, 4% of their net worth, right? A small. It would never affect their lifestyle, and everybody on the planet is put in homes, has jobs, has money, and food and a life, but they don't do it, and they know that they could. And we could fix everything. So what do you just bypass them because they're never going to?
So, well, you brought up a great point here. So they just don't do it. So go back to that one-letter question. Why?
Yeah.
There's something more. Forget they're trying to kill us. Okay, that's low-hanging fruit. Climb that tree. Everyone said they're trying to kill. We're still here, right? Things happen. Problems happen. That's given. There's something else going on. Why? Right? What are we? Because obviously we haven't learned some type of lesson where, or something is looking for something in us, right? And this is what we talked about earlier: is what if the higher frequencies are there, and what they're looking for, just like we look for in our children when they're in the homes. We're not going to let them out into the greater world until we hope we've instilled some good consciousness in them, some good morals. And then certainly we don't want to let them out until they're old enough not to, run in front of a car or, even teen. So what if the higher frequencies, so there's that level from the house and they get to go out and we get to become teenagers, we get to go to college and we earn more responsibility. What if the higher frequencies are there and they're waiting for us to evolve? Right?
Yeah.
Will you turn away from the violence? Will you turn away from the raping and mutilation? Will you stand up for that? And how will you stand up for that? Will you diverge from everything that has been done to date? Because that's what we're looking for.
And this was yes, and I agree with that. The larger problem, and I don't know how we got here, but we did. Right. And the larger problem is this. You and I can discuss this. We are talking to awakened and enlightened people right now on, our audience. They fully get everything that we are saying right now. But 99%, and I mean this as a real number, of the globe, of the United States, of Canada, of Australia, Germany, France, South Africa, Uganda, you pick the country, China, Russia, you pick the country. And I'm going to tell you right now, they don't have a clue about politics. They don't have a clue about starvation. They don't have a clue about children's slave trades. They don't have a clue about taxes. They don't have a clue about employment, zero. They don't pay attention to it's not happening. That is not a reality. When mass media is out there screaming, and I don't care who it is, I don't care if it's Russia Today or if it's MSN or CNN or Fox.
Sure.
Pick it right now. And they are screaming about these issues. The vast majority of the world are not listening, and they are not paying attention. They don't care. They don't have a clue about any of this stuff that is going on.
Sure.
That's the reality. I don't know how we got here, but those are the cards that we are dealt right now.
Yep. And so then, how do you evolve a culture in a petri dish, right? You're looking for, again, the divergence. Not everybody gets to go on. So this is where the matrix comes in and all that. If we're already in a simulation and it's trying to evolve this energy, this level of consciousness through to a singularity, you're hearing it all in the physical manifestation. The singularity is near. The AI is going to get consciousness. What if that's all a reflection of how close we are to evolving to that higher spacefaring ability? But it's not everyone in society. How many times in our civilization, in our history, have civilizations are up and vanished? Groups and pockets of people. Atlantis to Lemuria to the flood, Easter Island, all these different things are just... So what's not to say that there is this pocket of individuals they're waiting for to stand up, to unite, to come together, right? And then that is the divergence that they're looking for. Those are when disclosure happens, they're waiting, and it's always been said, you're the ones that we're waiting for, or we're the ones that we're waiting for. We're continually waiting for somebody to come to us, but we're the ones that we're waiting for. If we stand up, and there are higher frequencies, they will come in. I know from my awakenings, what you call Kundalini awakenings and all that, when you're there and you come back, and out-of-body experiences, when you're there and you come back, until that happens to you, there's always and you have to do the faith. When it happens, it is undeniable. There is something on the other side of that line drawn in the sand. Don't know what it is, because your visuals and all that, but I know that there is something there, period. So the conviction that I have now is absolutely based on that. And then I find all these different books that have just been written forever, and then, the yogi gurus and all that, they're all talking about. I'm like, oh my God, it's been in front of my face this whole time.
It has. There's no question about that. And this is the frightening part. This is, continuing from what I just said, this is the frightening part. It's always been there. It's been written about for millennia going back. It's been talked about, and yes, and I totally get that. But you walk around a college campus today. Again, pick the city in the country, around the world. I don't care where you go. Walk around a college campus today. Pick 100% of everybody that you walk up to, every student, 18, 19, 20 years old, and hit them with some of these ideas, and you're going to get a blank stare. You're going to get a blank stare. They don't have a clue. And that's on that level. Now just walk up to the everyman on the street. Walk up to anybody and hit them with everything that we are talking about right now. You're going to get a blank stare. Therefore, big data, the man has won. It's almost, it's insurmountable, and I'm not saying, I'm on your side, right?
No. So it's where I was going to go is because I know what you're setting up. So the big data, so the question is, why do they collapse? Why can't so we talked about ideological subversion. So the first thing, never mind ego, is cognitive dissonance. So let's go right back to computers. This is where the mind is just a biological computer. That entity your mouth is moving up and down with is a biological entity. And that energy powering you, and everyone knows this, is something else. Soul, consciousness, energy, and science, right? And so it's powering your robot. But that mind, that computer unit in your mind, is just that. It's a computer unit. So once you understand how that works, and it's very simple, so at a very simple level, is, cognitive dissonance, we'll use it in non-computer terms, is your firewall, right? So you just talked about it. I mean, they give you a blank stare. Well, that's their programming in the cognitive dissonance, with just like, I'm not going to even register what you said.
Right.
And so, but how that cognitive dissonance is formed, well, this is where it gets interesting. So that's this third piece. So ego, cognitive dissonance, that's where latent inhibition comes in. That is your stack. When you program, you start literally with one line of code, well, just one letter, and you're forming a method, and then these methods grow on top of the methods, and it continually aggregates up and up and up until you have this application. That application is your cognitive dissonance. It's programmed based on that coding stack to be something.
That's
so
brilliant.
So now,
brilliant. I thoroughly get that and totally understand it. And that's the only way it's going to happen. It's reversing the process that got us here to begin with.
Right. And that's why I said the top down, when I was talking about the bottom up, top down with adults, it's different. We have to debug the adults. They're not as malleable as children. Did I use that word?
Oh, no, not at all.
You can't form them properly. Children, you can form, they're impressionable. So, if you do it properly, you can program them, because the computer unit, up to be responsible, creative, adults, helping and pushing society in a proper way. Or you can program them on computers where it's okay to rape and continually attack the divine feminine over time and time again. It's not a magical, occurrence that ISIS happens to be, who we're fighting over there. Like, give me a break. Do your history checks, and you'll see how strong the ISIS was in the Egyptian time and ancient Egyptian times. And so it's the same with the swastika and all that, right? I mean, all these powerful emblems pass down through history, magically all of a sudden become the bad guy emblem, right? And so, but if we're in a simulation and a game of frequencies, and we're supposed to learn from this, right? We're supposed to catch on to, wait, the stuff hidden in plain sight, and then you bypass all this fear factor. Oh, I see there's your evolution starting, because now you're starting to look through the fog, right? You're starting to see stuff and make sense and connections, because it requires an ability to see large, connections in those fashions. And so latent inhibition, so something I'd like everyone to Google at some point, low latent inhibition. It's another, remember, mental disability, a learning disability that we're applied with. When you have low latent inhibition, the gloves are off when the amount of information and connections you can make. It's a precursor to schizophrenia, right? That's when you topple over too far. But those with low latent inhibition are able to control large, massive amounts of information and make joining connections to tons of things. Now, remember, corporations are fine hiring these people, but if these people are in a world where their talents can't be used, then it's a problem. So, ADHD alone, I think now in the United States alone, by 2020 or 2022, is going to become over $22 billion industry.
Well, and a corporation, an ADHD, somebody that has that ability to focus without end, I guess is the best way to put it, right?
Yeah, what we call hyperfocus.
Right. That's the perfect guy for a cubicle, right?
That's right. So a good example, if you want to see, if everyone, I said I debugged Humanity, okay, Humanity's code base, and you go, okay, yeah, sure. So one movie I want you to go watch is The Big Short. Focus on Michael Burry's character.
Yep.
Okay, and how he took on the finance without the computers. Well, I mean, he used a computer, but he went through the numbers manually, and he was 2 years ahead of what he did, is how it breaks down. And then he went and told other guys who were looking at the system, I think 6 months later, they came about and they noticed anomalies in the system. What's going on here? And it took them another number of months because they had to prove it to themselves. Meanwhile, Michael Burry was just yes.
Right.
It is possible.
Right.
It is possible to do it, and everyone has the possibility. It's just the right side of the brain has been so shut down, which is why STEM is being pushed by the education system. Was the STEM engine the great creation of our time? No, it was the steam engine, right? That's science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. It wasn't the STEM engine, it was STEAM. Arts is that creativity. That's why they're killing it again, right? In history, they don't want you to know. The less knowledge you have, obviously, the less connections you can make.
Well, the big. Well, I want to. I don't want this to get away from me. The Big Short, for everybody, exactly what we are talking about here tonight. That movie, which is about the real estate. It's about
the financial collapse.
Right. That's not really what you're going to get out of that movie. What you're going to get out of that movie is we know nothing. Nothing. And the fact that the complex setup, the house of cards that is the money industry in general, the mortgage industry, yes, and the stock markets and how you play markets and the financial system in general is what you get out of The Big Short. And you find out very, very quickly that it is so complex. It is unbelievably complex that we actually don't know anything about it. We don't know. We don't understand. Yeah. And that is the internet, corporations, software, AI in general today. Goes back to what I said at the beginning of this show, Ken. There isn't one person that knows absolutely everything. It doesn't exist anymore. It's gotten way out of control. Way out of control.
And that's why it's so important now that this is, again, that Goldilocks moment where we need to unify. And it's hard because in the living systems, you're going to have, you want at the top, right, in that, what I call the catalyst, in that part, you want these individuals like ADHD and all who can rhyme through the data fast, but they're going to throw stuff down to you, right? And you're going to be like, oh, that's bullshit. But meanwhile, what? Sorry, I swore. That's impossible. But meanwhile, what we threw down to was from a convergence of 100 different points of data, right? And it's just that if you can just take this and implement it over here, we can do it, right? So think of it that we're all in a maze together, and we're in a rat's in a maze. We've heard of that before. But all of a sudden, we decided to get intelligent and raise people up on our shoulders and see outside of the maze. Well, the guy seeing outside of the maze is telling you to go left or watch out for here, and it gets passed down. So, you got broken telephone. But even if it gets passed down properly, are you going to follow that person on blind faith? Well, he told me to go left, but I'm hearing monsters over here, or whatever the case, if we're in a maze.
Right.
And that's the scenario. It's like being in the crow's nest of a ship, right? And so ADHD, the hyper aspect, if I can get this right, in Greek means to be above, right? To fly above, high. And that's what we do. We go high. We go fast. But it's so, another analogy I use is when, you're my handler, right? Because and I'm your kite. And you have me up in the clouds so I can fly fast because that's my abilities. My neurological diversity allows me to do that. But what I pass down to you, and especially when I'm open, because all of a sudden we get like empathic in our emotions, we're letting go because the less we have to control, the better. But all of a sudden, if we have these individuals on the ground, going, oh, that's crap, or they're arguing in sort of the neurotypical way or the linear way, all of a sudden our emotions our firewalls are completely open, and all of a sudden it turns into an argument. You're causing us to become angry, or other emotions come out of us, which is what we're very known for. We're very emotional people. And so the big data aspect that's happening out there now is that sea that we're in, and we need to build this ship properly with living systems using all their natural gifts, right, to bring this in, because that's what we were given. We have to flow back into natural law, into the natural way of the natural systems of the cosmic.
But do we in doing that, do we start shutting down server farms? Right? I mean, how do you get back to that? Do we let go of technology, or is there a way to embrace both?
There is. It's maturity, responsibility. There's no reason that, so evolution is evolving, and this is one of the problems with groups of individuals that I just want to go back into the woods and or do all this kind of stuff. You can't. I said the flow of life. We're in this point in time. We're all here together, manifested. Evolution is on the brink of spacefaring transhumanism. There is no going back. You're going reversing. It doesn't mean that you can't fix what's happening and take that with us. Just because we've become spacefaring doesn't mean we leave the planet Earth. Typically the individuals that are going to be up in space are the same individuals, like ADHD most of them are, that are firefighters, police, fighter pilots, pilots in general, individuals that need the high, right? And so they'll go up into space right away. I'd like to go up, maybe come back down and stay here. Next life I can go up there.
Right.
But it's my devotion is to humanity. But we have to flow with evolution, right? Evolution doesn't say go back to not progressing ourselves. We're here on the brinks. It's our maturity that's the problem.
I went one time. We're going to hit a break here, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about where we are, Type 0 to a Type 1 civilization. That needs to be discussed. So we'll do that after the break. But I walked in, I was at a software company, a gaming company, and I walked into their server farm. I had never seen one before. It was the size of an airplane hangar, right? And they're just like in the movies, miles, rows, stacks, floors of blinking lights, right? Servers. And I walked in, I was like, oh my God. And I turned to the guy that was taking me on the tour, and he was one of the owners. And I said, what's going on? He goes, dude, we're rendering. Right? And I turn around and I'm just trying to wrap my head around what he just said to me, right? Now, that instance of that moment for me is going on at countless locations around the world and around the United States. This is just one little thing, right? Now we have data like this. I mean, it is out of control. There is nobody policing any of this. And that tipping point, because our intelligence is growing so quickly that it could be tomorrow. That's the thing that scares me the most. It could be tomorrow. It could be next week. It's not going to be in 2050. It's now. It's here.
No, absolutely.
Let's take a break. Go ahead. Lead us into the break, Ken. What were you going to say?
Oh, so when we come back, we'll get into what we call Tron, the reality of now.
Oh man, I so want to be Tron. I you know what? I would if I could download my brain right now or upload onto a USB drive and just head onto a microchip for a few hours, I would do it. I would do it, and we're so close. We'll be right back. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Ken Kuden, Divergent Unity. Stay with us.
To my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter. But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. Great show tonight. Ken Knudsen, Divergent Unity. We've got him up in Twitter. Follow. You can follow me right now on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Now, Ken, let's jump into some pretty heavy subjects here, which are, where are we right now? And we hear this bandied about a lot, type 0, type 1, type 2, type 3 civilizations, and we're a type 0. I think that we are on the brink of so many. We are able to answer questions now. We have the technology to do that. Not only out in space, but down to the micro level here and to the atomic level. We have Hubble, we have CERN. We have some very, very advanced technology. But in the big scheme of things, we're still monkeys in trees. There's no doubt about that. And
has it solved anything?
Yeah,
right? Is the system still collapsing?
That's right. So where are we on that scale?
So as Michio, I'm going to bastardize the name here, Michio Kaku talks about and says it really well, is that, we're at this 0.7 to a type 1 civilization. And if we can make it, and this is the most crucial time in a civilization's history, is if we can make it to a type 1 and beyond, we've done it. We're going to carry on, and this culture of evolution is going to, go on to Star Trek and beyond. Problem is, we're at a 0.7, and we've already rocked the boat entirely too much. I mean, we're in the sixth mass extinction, 400 parts per million. You were rhyming the stuff off in your opening of your show, right? And nobody has an answer, right? All the scientists, all the brightest minds in the world, they don't have an answer, right? And so when everything is siloed like that, when everything has been left-brained and lineared in that respect, everything is rabbit-holed, and nobody is walking on the planes of architectural creation to sort of put all this together, that's going to continue, and we will get wiped out in one fashion or another, or there'll be some big catastrophe. That's a given, right? And that's your reality of now, right? That's the Tron moment. And without realizing that, people will just go on doing what they're doing. So you said before, like, there's all these individuals walking around, they can't even process this, but that's not their problem. They've been programmed in that way. We know about it, so we have to unite, act, and rise up, right? But not, again, in divergent ways. Somebody has to take ownership. It only takes one pebble to cause waves in the ocean, right? And the whole goal is not to crash them, those that can't see it, right? You want to sort of elevate them out of it slowly, right, over time. It's the same with children. You don't go rocking them with serial killers and shooting guns and all that. You need to, hopefully, they never get in those situations or whatever the case. But you try and sort of evolve them out of the world, out into the world, into the greater world. And so you asked, well, how do you get the attention of the big money people? Right, and so it comes with the people unite. The people unite from the bottom up, the indigenous. It starts there, and other individuals who want to stand up, and they stand behind this empirical statement. So one of the ones is that we can take humanity at a quantum jump from a 0.7 to a type 1 now. Right, and so, but in your now, in this system, your money is controlling everything. Do you want this? Right, and so there are individuals that do. Bill Gates is one of them, working hard. I know there's people slack all these different individuals, but if there are all these bad things around Bill Gates, why would he go and fund $10 million to the Big History Project? Right, look that up, like Big History, and what it is it's trying to get people to look through the history, look at the big data, open your mind, right? And so, I mean, if he's super bad dude. Well, and he's coaching you, look at all the data, try and look at all the data, then you would ultimately end up finding that he's like some super evil bad dude, right? Or is it that there's a different part of the game being played now, again, at the level, at this, this top level. So Big History Project is this whole new, and it's given away for free. Right. So now here's another thing that you don't have to pay for it. It's trying to get people to understand the need to think in big history concepts. So again, it goes back to validating what we're talking about, the big data and the stuff that we're doing. It's the system is starting to see that, and it's promoting it. So there are these people out there like Elon Musk and Nick Hanner and other individuals, Michael Burry, Bill Gates, when the solution or solutions and a framework to it, not just ideas,
right,
but a plausible framework are presented, they're going to come.
Well,
they have to, because they're in the system as well.
They are in the system, right? And they've also figured something out. They're starting, I was surprised to hear them share these ideas last year when they started to come forward out of the Silicon Valley, saying that it's possible. They now want to consider that we're living in a matrix, right? That this thing is ones and zeros. We're living in something artificial. The only reason why they would say that is because they found out something. Right? They figured something out. I think a large chunk of it is quantum theory, quantum mechanics, parallel worlds, multi-worlds theory, because they are now writing software and building the quantum computing hardware that is working in an alternate universe. Now, for them to figure that out, that's when they backed up and said, wait a minute here. Right? There is something else going on. And they are building the hardware and writing the software, taking advantage of what? Parallel worlds. Now, right. It was one of the most wonderful things to happen, and I'll tell you why. It proves everything that we in the alternative community, the consciousness community, that have been talking about going back to Indian mystics and world religions forever. Now we are building it based on science, and it proves and validates everything that you're discussing tonight and what the guests that come on this show. And it allows us to step back and go, you know what? See, we are right. You guys need to jump on board with us. And who would have thought it would be the billionaires of Silicon Valley to do that for us?
Right. Because they pushed it as far as they can, like you're saying, but as we talked about, it's now, power corrupts absolutely, right? So they have all this power. What does it mean if there is a multiverse? We know the multiverse, that kind of begins within us. So as soon as we realize our own powers and we start upgrading ourselves, then all of a sudden you don't rely on the system that has forever allowed control in this lower manifestation.
Are you okay with AI and AR going to the next level? Because if we are going to be a star-faring civilization, we would need to live in that world, wouldn't we?
Absolutely, right? Because there's going to be a whole... So, okay, absolutely, yes, in the spacefaring world, AI and all that's going to be there. No, we are not ready or mature enough as a civilization to allow that to happen, because it's just going to be used in its current fashion now. How is it being used now? It's being used to how best to market a pair of underwear to you. And you don't even like pink underwear, right? But you will buy pink underwear because it's been marketed to you in some covert ways, right? And so these AI algorithms rolling through big data, and we talked about this, it's just you're continually funneling up this data unless you get off the grid. And, of course, they're making that illegal in the United States slowly, so that you have to be constantly plugged in. And the marketing algorithms are using AI to manipulate individuals into, just like they've used mainstream media and blah, blah, blah forever. But now it's all going to even be faster, and you won't even know it. Again, demoralization, and it's just, planting thoughts in your head. Now all this stuff becomes super real. Before we used to talk about, the lily wave and, magically planting, stuff on the, through the, little payloads and the electromagnetic spectrum into a person's mind. Well, now here it's in plain sight, right? Because the advertising, how many times on Facebook is all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, yeah, I was looking at that 2 weeks ago. Oh, my God, it read my mind.
Right.
It's using your data to do it. So why can't you do the same thing? Why can't we do the same thing to elevate humanity's consciousness and take on the system? Well, in this case, we just walk away from the system. Right? Now, don't go running out of the houses and walk away. You have to do it in a methodological way, a logical way. But there is a way to do it. And it's the exact same way that they're manipulating you. You can turn and use the system against itself.
Well, and how do you do that? Because that would be the next step, is we need to teach our children from the youngest of ages now how to recognize something real versus something fake. And when you're living in such a 1 and 0 AI, AR type of world, it's hard to tell what is real and what is not. As we move forward through this artificial reality, we are just a few baby steps away from living in that now, right? Where you will not be able to tell the difference between the two. That is the goal, right? That's the goal of everybody right now.
Absolutely. So if you think about it in this sense, we'll go back to programming. When we write code, right, we have something called source control, magically source control, where we check in the code to, right, so that it's stored there and can be looked at later on and modified and downloaded, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, great. So in humanity, we have right now our source control, which we sometimes call the Akashic records, right? Where you can, where all life's ongoings are recorded and et cetera. Well, what does that sound familiar to? Big data.
Right.
What's happening right now? We're just mimicking, but we've been talking through the ancients forever.
That's right.
So, but now, if we get everyone locked into, and you said it, the virtual reality, the augmented reality, we put on those VR glasses, right, and everyone devotes that, and we download onto the systems, onto the USBs, and now we're in that system, this virtual system. Well, now they can just cut off the source control, the natural source control. And now all of a sudden it's like our energy has gone from one battery unit, which was based on the laws of nature, and some higher thing that just destroys anything that we can do insofar as creativity, and we've just given it all to this other little virtual battery unit.
Well, but see, the reason why I know that is the future, I'm telling you right now, if I was worth $20 billion, right, and I was running a software company, my goal is to be immortal. If there is a way to get my brain downloaded onto a chip and I can get rid of this meat packet that I live in and live forever, you don't think that that's what Bill Gates and Zuckerberg right now are trying to figure out? They are right on the cusp of that. And we need that technology if we are going to travel to the stars. We need to be able to exist on a chip. You know, we will die after 50 years on not all of the...
In the physical world, we'll die. So it goes back to, do we really die? There's the question.
That's right. Do we really die? Now,
right? and I've had an out-of-body experience. I know that there's something there.
Right.
Right. And then, like I said, in my full awakening, rising up onto the cliff, there's absolutely no doubt there is something there. Period.
Would you do it? Right. Would you do it if you could live on a chip? Would you do it right now?
If I could live on, absolutely not. Not knowing what I know now, no way. Because I know there is something far more powerful than what we could ever hope of creating.
Well, and let's flip this in reverse. A child is born, right? Brand new, just right there and to take that personality, right, that thing, download it immediately onto a disk, and now they are going to see the world in augmented reality and live on that chip and learn and progress. That, going back to the movie The Matrix, right? Exchanging. That is the future. How do we stop that? Right? How do we stop that? It's probably going on right now, and we don't know it.
Right. Well, I would say it is going on right now, because how did we download into these bodies we have now?
That's right. Michio Kaku said on this show, I think it was like 4 years ago, he said on this show that he knows for a fact that they are downloading personalities right now at DARPA and Sandia National Labs. Now, and you stop and and he had said then the whole trick is perfecting the interface, right? So brain code, nature code can communicate with software, with computer software. That interface needs to be perfected, and they have done that. And it stopped me in my tracks. You know, but of course, if there's going to be an evolutionary step here, that is exactly what needs to happen first.
Yes. And so the evolution, do we keep relying on the technology and putting our faith now into technology that it's going to save us? Or, as the Divergence, are we going to come back and realize our own power?
Yeah, somebody just tweeted, Mark says, so how do you enjoy your money if you're a computer program, right? You'd hope nobody pulls the plug. Well, that's actually one of the biggest, it's one of the biggest
But we all know money is what?
Nothing.
It's nothing.
It's nothing.
Right? This is the war going on, is China and Russia. They broke away from the banking system, and they're gold backing all the currency. So, the boys club is getting into a tiff again, right? And that's now we have this fight going on. That's not sort of mainstream. You can look under the covers and see that it's all happening, right? So they're gold bags. So what's coming, right? So another thing you look for. Remember, they play on the global stage. So what if you talk about gamification, look up Sesame credits in China, right? And you'll see what's going on there, using gamification to just slowly lull people into a new way of controlling their or policing their own kind. So Sesame credit, everyone understands the credit system. You get credit ratings, and then that determines how much you can loan each other. This credit system is the exact same thing except for the political establishment. So me and Jimmy right now would be like a zero factor because, boy, did we just dump a lot of stuff tonight against the system. And so if we're talking to people and you're talking to me and you can dot us up on this little gamified app saying, oh, these guys were talking against the system, right? And you get like gamified points for it. And then you get to go into, new establishments, right? And so all of a sudden it's the credit system, but applied to everything you do in your daily life of where you're allowed to go and where you're not. So Black Mirror, that first episode, I don't know if people watch the first episode of Black Mirror. It's a really good example of what's going on. Again, everything hidden in plain sight, right, is there. So it's one thing I always go back to. So it's, again, we're going back to, against the universe itself, we are children. So you have children. Oh, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say was, what I was going to say doesn't matter because I forgot it. So I'm going to hand it back to you. What was I going to say?
Okay.
What was I going to say?
So it goes back. If we're children in this simulation, and our goal is to evolve to become responsible adults, so that we can be trusted in space, because it doesn't matter. We're not going to be allowed into space with our current mentality. Could you imagine the way we treat each other on this planet, let alone other countries, etc., and all of a sudden we go into space and do what we do here? Right?
Well,
and we know all of a sudden there's...
Yes, I remember now. Yes, you're exactly right. Okay. And so how do we stop the man from clamping down on the message? Right? Everything that we need to do here, you, myself, Modern Masters, your entire group that you've put together, they can shut us off and shut us down and make life a living hell very quickly and make sure that this message never gets heard.
Yep. So what you do, in the ancients, and this is why the religious studies in the Torah and all that study, the Kabbalah, right? The Kabbalah tree, the upper manifestation, which is the Trinity. There are reasons that exists as a base template, and it's up in that Trinity where the rules of the game get made. So long as everything stays down in the lower manifestation, everyone's happy. Well, so far as those in control, right? So now you have to get into the Egyptian mythology and start linking it with Hindu mythology and see where the patterns all are, and then you realize, holy crap, they're all saying the same thing. And then when you look at the game, this duality, it's just bouncing back between the two pillars, the left and the right, the left and the right. It doesn't get unified until the capstone gets attached again.
That's right? Exactly it.
Right? And so what you do then, fine, we bring it into this manifestation. We create the capstone again, and we attach it ourselves, right? And so that takes creativity, and it takes the current controlling dogma. You need to play within the game, and so we already talked about scientific method, So what you create and back it with the energy of the people, okay, is a holier now statements. We can bring about disclosure. We can prove that we're in a simulation. Because up until the point of, again, that's just all people talking, up until the point you say, no, we actually have the process to disprove or prove this. Now you can no longer say, haha, that's funny, you're just a bunch of, crackety jacks. Because now you've just applied the scientific principles to it, right? And now, okay, let's prove this if we can. So those billionaires Who wouldn't want to prove it? Especially Elon Musk wanting to go to Mars, and Naveen Jain wanting to go to the moon, SpaceX, Richard Branson, all these guys. If you present a valid, logical package to them, they're going to try it.
Yeah,
they have to, because it's part of the ego. It's part of the greed.
That's right. It is.
It's a big piece of bait. Just think of it as fishing.
Well, and they've helped us. And like I said, last year when they came out with this whole we're living in an artificial reality scenario and started talking about it, they did all the legwork for us. Right there, by just saying that, they legitimized everything. And I was just so happy. Ken, thank you for the conversation tonight. Again, where can everybody go and get all of the information they need?
divergentunity.oy2k.com. They can start there. Modernmasters.org is another where they can start entering into the gaming universe, the debugging part of it. And tomorrow we'll find some more links.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much, Ken. Be safe out there. And I'm going to let you know you've opened the door. The man is watching. All right. Thank you so much, Ken. Have a great night. We'll see everybody tomorrow night right here. Thank you so much, Ken. And with that, I am going to run this for you. Give this a listen.
And now for humanity's third option. One that stands for the children, the indigenous, the color spectrum, and all beings on Earth who seek an evolutionary reality. This can only be unlocked once the unified consciousness field of your species has reached a frequency born purely of love. Each of you should be very proud of what has been accomplished, but the time for celebration has not yet come to pass. There is still much work to be done. It is on this day, July 25th, 2017, from Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, as per the cosmic rules imbued upon the multiverse by the divine templates of life, that universal disclosure has been initiated upon the human civilization of Earth, as decreed by the free will of the people. The Divine Mother of Earth has called upon the frequencies of the illuminated fool, descendant of an old great king's soul, where Capri Thoth, Ken, Basil, Steves, Mitten, Knudsen has answered the call. His heart has been weighed against the feather. He has been found worthy to bear the burden of truth, to champion the beacon of light for the evolution of humanity. A new sun has now descended into your current manifested timeline. Ptah, Capri, Thoth are charged with leading the Catalyst Trinity Capstone once again. Their teams are being activated throughout the planet in great numbers, rewriting the rules of this current system in support of the empowerment of all people of Earth, not the select few. The singularity of your timeline is now activated. Join the heroes of humanity. Find your empowerment upgrades. Evolve. Your journey begins with the Ascended Masters at modernmasters.org.
That's right. And that will conclude another episode of Fade to Black. Oh, man, what a conversation tonight. Part 2 is tomorrow night. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster, Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldridge. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until tomorrow night, part 2, Divergent Unity. Everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.